two, one.
That's so handy.
I know. Well, good morning, good day, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. P.L. Stewart, John King Saga, back with not a Six Elementals interview, but a special audiobook Kickstarter launch party for a fantastic creative that I'm so excited to chat about. This book is somewhat of a darling, in its corner of the world. It has won several awards. The ones I know about are the 2019 Reader's Use Award for Fantasy and the 2019 Independent Publisher Award for Fantasy. The awesome author may be able to tell us more awards that it's won. However, clearly, judging by their ratings on Goodreads, this is a popular book. I can't wait to read it. I wish I would have been able to read it before this live.
She's a bit chunky. It takes time.
Yeah, but I will be definitely reading in the future. But anyways, without further ado, we have the fabulous author, Sienna Tristen. Sienna, how are you?
Hi, I am doing quite well this evening. Thank you so much for having me in your space. I really appreciate it.
Well, I am so honored to have you. And I think one thing that when I was looking at the Goodreads for this book, how popular it is, the number of reviews, one question I had was that, so it says that it was published by Will Press. Is that your own independent publishing company? Is that a small press? What is that?
Yeah, so bit of context for everybody. Hi, I'm Sienna Tristen. I'm an indie author. I'm a poet. I'm a cultural organizer. The book that we're talking about today is The HERETIC'S Guide to Homecoming, specifically book one. It's a duology. It's a finished duology. I have the physical copies like any good author to like show off. Here she is. There's the Ippy sticker that you were talking about, right? She's one of the couple of awards that she won back in her day. And then here's her chonkier younger sister. This is the second one, right? So I mean, we're fantasy readers. We enjoy a good chunky book, but together they do make a pretty, some pretty in-depth reading, right? Like get ready to go on a journey. So my publishing partner, who's also my partner in marriage, my partner in crime, art, and marriage, Avi Silver, who's been on this channel before, and myself, we are the two masterminds behind a arts collective that we call the Shale Project, which is essentially a shared secondary fantasy world that we world build together. So history, culture, mythology, all of these things are kind of mutually agreed upon decisions based on what we think would be fun or interesting. And then separately, we each, hi, Avi. And then we each go and run away into our separate little writer towers and produce works of fiction that populate this world. So we, in the past, have written in different genres, for different demographics, different tones, and also, more excitingly to me, on different continents and in different time periods of this world, right? So of the two complete series that exist from the Shale Project, I've got my duology over here, which takes place on one continent at a time period. And Avi's YA fantasy trilogy takes place about 190 years earlier across the ocean on like a completely different part of the planet, right? They don't touch each other, except for if you're one of those close readers that likes to really pick out the Easter eggs and like the threads of history. And then you start to see how they'll kind of interweave. So that's what we do for fun. As far as Whale Press comes into it, that is the official imprint name. That's the press name for the Shale Project. The reason why we called it Whale Press, among other things, is like when you're trying to find an imprint name for an indie press, kind of anything goes, really, so long as it's kind of, it sticks in the mind. There are creatures on Shale that we affectionately call mole whales. They are like giant, amphibious, like big like whale, dig like mole. That's the joke, right? And they actually get mentioned in book 2, I think it is, maybe both books, but like just incredibly passingly, just like that it's in there, right? But if you look on the side of the physical book, you'll see my tiny little logo here.
Yes,
There's that little creature. Yeah. So we put it together ourselves, and it's been Heretic's Guide 1 came out in 2018, so it's been 8 years.
Wow.
7 years. It's been 7 years.
since you started this endeavor. So
Yeah,
this, of course, sounds very comparative for me. Because I'm going to use it. Forgive me, because I'm in the
yeah.
middle of reading it. Sanderson-esque in scope, with linked
Nice.
world. Is that am I capturing this right?
I guess like it's funny because I was talking to a friend recently who's very into Star Wars, and he was like, I guess I just took it for granted that big interlinked fantasy universes are a thing because Star Wars is kind of his reference point. But then when you begin to expand into anything textual, it's a little bit more difficult to find unless you're like a big franchise, right? Like unless you have kind of the IP and the money to hire a whole bunch of authors who are really jazzed to write in your thing. But to have it be sort of grassroots and have it be the two of us doing this collectively and collaboratively from the jump as a smaller operation, I haven't seen too many of them. I've seen maybe one or two recently, and I'm very excited about that because I think there should be more of them because it's super fun to be able to have a world building partner to bounce off of, right? So yeah, it's the reason why we did this, among other reasons, like we did it because we want to, and that's the only reason you really need as an artist to do anything, I think. But the shared world of it all came from the fact that I was reading a whole bunch of fantasy in my late teens, early 20s, and finding that authors were putting together these just absolutely gorgeous, luscious, detailed, vibrant, multifaceted worlds for a duology or a trilogy. And then they would just like toss them out the window and
Yeah.
start another one. And I was like, but the potential, like, what? Why are you doing that? And so I was like, why don't you just recycle the work and like just keep stacking and stacking and stacking and layering and come up with something that is as complicated and nuanced and contradictory sometimes as our own world? That to me sounds like a really fun long-term project. So that's what we're doing.
And that's fabulous because I have to agree. I've always wondered, like, okay, so unlike you, I'm old, so and I started writing
That's
late.
relative. Come on.
So I started writing late, and my plan is to, for as long as I'm able to write all of the books in my series in my larger world. Because,
Mhm.
as you said, I've created this world that's humongous in scope with different continents. Why wouldn't I just spend the rest of my writing career, after taking so much time to create that world with backstories and genealogies and family trees and histories and mini
Yeah.
wikis and
Deepening with the material. Yeah.
yeah, but my what I understand is, and I'm not sure how you feel. This is the common complaint, essentially, that I've heard from other authors when we talk about this, is that they say that they get bored with that world they created in X
Ah,
series, and they want to create something totally different, and so it feels really fresh, even if they've only, let's just say that they've only stayed within one continent of their world
yeah.
for that series, and they've created 10. They're like, I'm done. Which, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, yeah, I think there's something left on the table when you don't flush out this world that you've spent so much time in, and you know so intimately. And yeah, so I love what you're doing there. I
Well,
actually love what
same
you're
to
doing
you if that's the case, right? Like there is absolutely a place in this world, and we need authors who like kind of are, they parcel it up really nicely, they put the bow on it, and they send it out into the world, and they just go do something completely different. I love that. Um, there is a like proliferation of ideas that comes from a writer like that. But I have found about myself that I am a writer who takes for frickin' ever to write anything. First of all, I'm so slow. I'm a slow reader as well. I'm a slow reader, I'm a slow writer. And I need time. I need time to really sit and process the material, to really marinate the ideas, to just like take time with things before I commit to them, like commit them to paper, and before I hit go on publishing
there.
them. And this is something that I'm always excited to talk about, is like the rhythm and pacing of writing as a craft. I have a newsletter for anyone who's interested. It's called Missives from the Entmoot, as in like the gathering of the conclave of Ents that
Yeah.
happens in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And the reason why, of course, is that old, classic phrase, it takes a long time to say anything in Old Entish, and we never say anything unless it is worth taking a long
Wow.
time
I
to
love that.
say, right? And that's how I feel about my essays. That's how I feel about my poetry. That's how I feel about my fiction, for sure. So it for me, I don't get bored very easily. I tend to be the last one sticking it out, being interested in something long after people have decided that they've exhausted the material, they've wrung it out like a towel, and they've moved on. I'm like, no, there's still something in here if you pick, right?
And it's so refreshing to hear because I feel, don't have enough fantasy books that are, fantasy books that are popular, and yours is quite popular. That perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't read the book, but I get the sense that perhaps there's no major battles. There's
Mm.
no a lot of the features that you might find in a lot of the popular fantasy books. This is a different kind of book that perhaps focuses on other aspects of the narrative rather than the big splash items,
You
right?
have been reading the reviews. Yes, I see. It is absolutely not that kind of fantasy book, right? So when Avi and I go to book fairs or conventions or events where we're talking about this series in particular, our tagline for it is a mental health narrative disguised as a fantasy travel journey, right? As a travelogue, as a road trip story. And it is on the surface, and it's not that it's trivial, but just on the first layer, when you just look at it, it is a cross country road trip fantasy journey. You have the protagonist who essentially meets a mentor figure, and together they team up and go on this very long journey to the other side of the continent, to this place called the Pilgrim State, which is this kind of like fantastical no man's land where all of the faith systems, all the religions of the continent, at least, if not the world, have agreed to come and sort of build their monument to that which they believe in. And our protagonist has a vested interest in that kind of stuff. That's very relevant to his hobbies. And he has good reasons for wanting to go there. So that's what's going on the surface. Is this kind of my excuse to show off all the really neat stuff that is going on in this world, all the different cultures and bits of history and trivia and songs and cuisine and the landscape. I'm a big architecture buff, so the beautiful buildings, like all of this stuff, right? But and also when I mean, it's not hidden is the thing. Like you get one page in and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
this boy is not well.
yeah,
It is a very in-depth, very up close, sometimes uncomfortably intimate depiction of somebody who is dealing with chronic anxiety and with a lot of spirals and a lot of panic attacks, and a lot of self-worth issues, and is struggling to believe that he is up to the challenge of this thing at all. Like he wants to go. He's the one who asks to go and he gets a yes. But he spends quite a while, for the first book at least, kind of wondering whether he's worthy of this beautiful journey that he's even on. And a huge driving the engine of this story, really, at the end of the day, when you peel away all of the beautiful landscapes and the interesting secondary characters who I love so much, when you really strip it all down to the absolute bedrock, what you're looking at is a narrative about resilience and mental health, which was the journey that I wanted to set out on paper from the get-go. And it was kind of, how am I going to embed and encode that into something that is fantastical and colorful and fun to be in, long enough that you stick around to see this kid grow a little bit.
wow, this sounds simply phenomenal. Now I'm going to get, my wife will divorce me unless I say hello to Abby, in particular, because she loves Abby, and of course she says hello to you as well, Sienna. And um, Abby, obviously, aside from being your partner, for me, as an outsider, and however someone I consider myself a friend of Abby's, her book
Mhm.
absolutely ruined me.
Mm.
Left me in tears, left me questioning, so many things that I felt I should have known, I didn't know. It was, and again, we're talking about pluralities here. And for those of you who are not familiar with this, all I can say is, we're talking about.
You should go read it.
Go read the damn book. Just go read the book. It was one of my top reads of the year when I read it. Look on Before We Go blog. You can see the post with that book. Just key in pluralities, and of course, watch the 6 elemental interviews that I had the honor of doing with Abby. This book now, Sienna, HERETIC'S Guide to Homecoming, sounds like it's going to ruin me as well. In all the best ways.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be facetious here. Like, I know why we need books like pluralities. I know why we need books, even though I haven't read it yet, but based on description, like the HERETIC'S Guide to Homecoming. You as the author, why do we need those kind of books in this?
Oh, that's a fun question. Who's we and what does need mean, right? Like, so when I was building this duology, Avi and I are both very theme-based writers. We usually, especially with the longer form work, but I mean, Avi does a lot of short fiction as well, and I know that this shows up in his short fiction too. Oftentimes, and this is also one reason why we work so well as a duo, as a creative collaboration for Shale, because Shale itself is kind of theme-based, right? Both of us begin with what are the themes that we want to explore via the modality of story. Like, what are we trying to really pick apart and ask questions about, and crucially, not answer? Like, we don't know shit for fuck, like, to be so crude about it, right? We don't know anything on this earth. We're just little guys who are trying to figure it out and trying to figure it out through, doing the story thing. And so, all of the works on Shale are meant, to ask a lot of questions and not provide really any solutions, perhaps just to provide observations, perhaps to provide anecdata, like, here's a character who's trying something and here's how that's working out for them. You get to decide whether that's interesting to you personally or not, right? All of these things. So pluralities, which is not a Shale project, but comes from the mind of one of us, right? Had so much to say about gender in contemporary Earth, right? And it was not contemporary Earth, really. It was kind of like Earth adjacent, right? But it had a lot to say about those themes and those intersections of identity. This has a lot to say about mental wellness and the ways in which, specifically what I wanted to do was talk about the fact that having anxiety is like not a cute little character quirk. It's not like, oh no, she's a little clumsy and sometimes she's nervous that she's not good enough, but she's actually fine. And like, one conversation with like the best friend or the mentor character will just like clear all that up. And like, now we're good to go. Like, that's not anybody out there who has that kind of anxiety. Can I have your life? Because that sounds awesome, right? No, for the most part, if it's chronic, if it's that kind of like really debilitating architecture in the brain, then it is not cute. It's not fun. It is repetitive. It gets boring for yourself, if not for everyone around you. People get frustrated with you. They get tired of you, even though they don't want to. They love you, but they don't fucking get it. And you spend a lot of time sitting there sabotaging yourself and then going, why are you like this? Right. And like doing this until something happens, right? You need to be willing. When I say these things always come with caveats. Again, why do we need books like this? Well, here's a pathway. Here's one pathway, right? In my opinion and in my experience, one must be willing to do the work, right? Like, if I am sitting there and I'm having big anxieties, big agoraphobia, big whatever, there are resources. It is the year of our Lord 2025. There are so many more resources out there for this kind of thing than there were when I was in middle school and dealing with this kind of thing, like right from the jump, right? It is part of the culture now. It has permeated everything, right? There are all kinds of infrastructural systemic supports that are in place that used to not exist 20 years ago, right? But you got to be willing to go and use them, is the thing. And so for me, part of writing Heretic's Guide is about really carefully riding the line between a protagonist who is incredibly sympathetic because you're deep in, while it is third person, you're deep in his thoughts, you're deep in his perspective, and you see the world kind of filtered through his lens, which is like deeply skewed. Um, and also, as a reader, occasionally, and like your mileage may vary on how many times this happens, depending on how patient you are as like a person, you will want to chuck the book once in a while because you're like, babe, like truly look at yourself. You're literally fine. A, B, you're kind of annoying right now. Like, could you please, and that was on purpose, because of the fact that that is what that kind of mental illness can turn a person into if they are not minded by people who care about them, if they are not vigilant to their own wellness, if they don't have awareness, if they don't have resources, if they are not using resources, etc. Right? So, why should books like this exist, specifically in speculative fiction? I think because these are difficult issues to talk to people about. Like, they're sticky and uncomfortable. I am the kind of person who will like meet up an acquaintance and within like, I don't know, 30 minutes be like, so what is your greatest fear?
Oh,
How do you least wish to die? Like, like these are the questions that I will ask people, and that is just like part of who I am, right? But for a lot of people, it is. Feel free to answer later if you want to, PL. I'm not stopping you, but but like this is like uncomfortable territory for a lot of people. They're like, okay, take me out to lunch first, please. My God, right? It's intimate. It is scary, and I like exploring what scares us as a species on a species level. And I find that one of the ways to do that that is bearable for a certain kind of person is through fantasy, through science fiction, through speculative fiction, because then you have the beautiful, fun, interesting fantasy journey plot, a plot to cushion almost or to support the really crunchy, uncomfortable, emotional maturity stuff that's going on that might otherwise be too painful to actually look directly in the eye. You get to kind of crab walk around it sideways. And in doing the crab walk, you're able to actually face it. There are a lot of reviews, and I've gotten a lot of feedback personally from readers who are like, this was actually really hard and scary to read all the way through. Like, I had to put it down multiple times because I was being faced with a mirror. And I realized that I was being faced with a mirror, and that made me uncomfortable. And I had to just sit with it. But then when I did, a lot of people have told me good things happened, right? Like whatever it was for anyone in specific, but like I gained more self-awareness. I learned more about what makes me anxious. I went to therapy, like all of these things, right? So that's like that's the A plus, success version of a book like this for me is it gets into someone's hands who I don't know. Like I've never met, someone across the world. We have no connection except for this text. But in giving them the text or in them stumbling upon the text, I have hopefully delivered, a companion, right? A helping hand, a compassionate ear, for something that troubles them. And hopefully, in going on this journey with Renoa, the protagonist, they will also come to find something that is soothing or, encouraging for their own journey through life. And that's what I have to say about that.
well, that is phenomenal and so articulate, of course. I'm going to quickly put up Cass. They came
Hi,
by
Kaz.
clearly
Thank
to
you for
support
being
you.
here.
Thank you so much for coming out to support Sienna. Appreciate seeing you. Cass says they're so very satisfying. And Abby, Abby says hi, hello. No need for divorce. And I'm sure she's speaking about the book that it's going to take you out. Yeah, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared for it, Abby. After reading Pluralities, I'm prepared. I'm prepared. This is your other half here, so and I'm sure that the writing is superlative. I'm sure it's going to make me weep and it's going to affect me, and I'm bring it on.
Well, don't make promises, but let me know how it goes.
um, I just to let you know something about me, and this is related, of course, back to you and your work. So let's take me. I am someone who works in law enforcement. And law enforcement comes with its own unique set of wonderful, rewarding aspects and its own unique set of horrible aspects.
Mm-hmm.
One of those aspects I've always had downside with is that law enforcement, there's so many beautiful, wonderful, selfless, altruistic, amazing, incredibly intelligent people who would literally lay down their life for you and do, because they feel that's their duty. There's also a culture that is deeply flawed in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those flaws is that it's regressive when it comes to approaching things like mental health. Okay. There was a time not too long ago when I first came on the job that, you know, in some sections and with some people, and I don't want to make complete generalities and I don't want to sound like, I mean, a lot of things have changed and progressed just like everywhere else. But yet there's still that element, right? Where the solution to what was perceived as a mental health issue was to, oh, go have another drink, man. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So there is still parts of society, even Western, so-called progressive, let's just say North American society, that mental health is villainized. The stigma of mental health is that you're crazy and you have issues and you're probably dangerous and right, and or you can't get together, or it's still out there, and I hate to say it's still out there. And I feel that there's so many people that would see themselves and are scared to talk about their mental health issues, that are scared to feel that I really need, I want to see myself. It's one thing to be marginalized for mental health. It's another thing to not have, and it's one thing, as you said, there's more supports, but still, sometimes for some people, they feel they have nowhere to turn. And sometimes where they turn is a book, right? Is something, made of fiction that they can lose themselves in. But guess what? Then they see themselves, they feel seen, and it can truly help. Like, not just being cathartic, but it can actually truly help. But there's a lot of people who don't understand that. So what do you say to the people who, don't understand that, and yet they are looking, is your book the kind of book that could help them understand that?
First of all, thank you for sharing, just from your life experience. It's a really, it's very raw, especially in these times, to talk about the fact that there is still a lot of mental health neglect that is rampant in really critical parts of our social infrastructure, right? That the people are, I hear about this in healthcare too, is the other place where people are just not taken care of, which is nuts because they are the people who are literally taking care of everybody else, right? And it's the kind of who watches the watcher of it all, right? Like, where are the supports for these specific populations, right? Where's the funding? When I talked about, there's so many more resources, yes, I did mean that there's I mostly meant it on a cultural level, like the fact that we do talk about, we know what anxiety is, we know what a panic attack is, it's in the movies now, this is kind of what I mean. But you're completely correct that there are huge sections of the population globally, certainly in North America, the colonial project of North America, that do not have access to these things. Even if they exist, it doesn't mean that you can get to them, or to your point, culturally, feel like you're allowed to use them is the other thing. And like I said, kind of with the one of the points of the story is not just there are people here who are willing to help you and lift you up and so on and so forth. It's you must feel safe. This is difficult, right? You must feel safe to say, yes, okay, I will accept your offer of help or encouragement or whatever it is, right? I will allow you in to the point where you will change me, or what you say can be given, and then I will change myself, right? To change is a terrifying thing. This is the tagline on the back of the book, right? The tagline, the thing that we always kind of bring up is life is transformation. You change or you die. It's in the yellow right here. And it's kind of a cultural aphorism that comes from our protagonist's homeland, and he has a complicated relationship with it because he feels kind of like they are saying one thing and doing another, but that's another story. The act of vulnerability that is actually admitting that there is something deeply wrong, right? Not that it is wrong with there's another little kind of one liner later down in the book of like, there is a difference between making a mistake and being a mistake, right? And even just that is something that people sometimes, when they hear it in plain language like that, like just say it and they're like, oh, ow. I and they just have the moment, right, of needing to like sit with it because like no one has actually said it to them. Maybe they've read it on the internet on a meme, or like they've said it to themselves, but sometimes it can be very difficult to take oneself seriously. But then to have an external source, whether it's out loud or in text, to just have these little things in front of you, they're almost affirmations at that point where it's like, hi, you're a human being, so you're a creature of chaos and madness and mess and failing, and that is exactly where you need to be, actually. Sorry to say, but like what's part of the experience of being alive, sweetheart. And to have the permission is wild, right? So when it comes to your question of what would I say to people who don't quite get it, and would this book kind of help people to get it, I think yes. I don't think it's for everyone because it is a slow burn. Like it's not a fast-paced book. I love this term because some people use it in a derogatory fashion and other people use it in an absolutely adoring fashion.
Yes.
So it really depends on what side of the fence you fall on. But a book where nothing happens is one of my favorite kinds of stories, because usually when you cash that out, what it actually means is this is a story that is very focused on the interiorities of its characters, right? And that is the stuff that I live for, because of all kinds of reasons. Probably most chiefly among them is because I probably learned how to be a human from reading books when I was a child, right? Like that's where I learned how to do the human thing. So when I see that in done really well, like executed well in a book, I'm like, yes, like this is going to be my new favorite thing. So, when it comes to perhaps being something a little more instructive or even just demonstrative, because again, I don't claim to be an expert on shit. I've just had experiences, much like you have, and I know what I know from living it. I think for those who are willing to be patient and show up with a spirit of curiosity, genuinely, it is an immensely rewarding story because it does put you through the ringer as a reader. Like this kid goes through some tough stuff, and it's not like the world is going to end. It's like deeply personal, emotional knife through ribs kind of, embarrassment and guilt and shame and letting people down. Like those we really linger on that stuff, right? So if any of that is going on in your life and you read it, you're like, oh, ow, I thought that we read books to escape feelings like this. But no, here's the secret. You can in fact flip it around and use them as a methodology, exactly, to be able to understand them a little bit better. So yeah, I would say if you are the patient sort of human being, then you will be rewarded by sitting down with Renoa for a while.
Well, I can't wait. I'd like to think I'm that patient kind of human being, so I'm so looking forward to reading that. And Abby says, talk about beautiful books where nothing happens. Always makes me think of The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I've heard of that book. I haven't read it yet. But
Yeah,
very much.
Goblin Emperor is one of the books that we compare to, and people ask, so what is this, right? We go, well, if you liked the pacing and the gentleness at its core of the Goblin Emperor. Also, the Goblin Emperor has a very anxious protagonist who is doing his best essentially in a tough situation, and has this kind of dark self-deprecating humor that just bubbles up once in a while and is everyone is surprised when it happens. That is a bit of a handshake with Renoa, the protagonist of Heretic's Guide. The other ones that we tend to bring up are Sophia Samatar's Stranger in Olandria, which is another absolutely delicious, gorgeous travel story. That's, it's at its heart, it is a story about stories and about the tension and the generative friction between oral storytelling and the written tradition, which is like super cool on a theme level. But it's also just an absolutely beautiful road trip situation, right? So that's another one that we talk about. And a lot of people, we're talking about indie creators as well, in indie books. A lot of people have talked about Hands of the Emperor by Victoria Goddard.
Right.
A lot of people put these two books in the same shelf when it comes to just, if you liked this, you'll like that one too.
Yeah.
So these are kind of that's the trifecta when we kind of talk about where does Heretic's Guide fit in the larger collage of literature.
Fantastic. And I think that's much more, it's I know in the past that was typically, a traditionally published, device by comparing, if you like this, then you like that. But I think in the indie sphere now, it's becoming relevant because, frankly, I believe there's enough knowledge and awareness of amazing books in the indie sphere that people are in now. It's the coolest thing to see a great, new, exciting indie book coming out, and that book being compared to a more established indie author.
Indie books,
exactly. Like that is just, I love that. That is just amazing.
Wouldn't that be like part of the writer bingo board to be like, have your book appear as a comp for an upcoming book? That would just be like, I've made it. I've arrived.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
established
awesome.
Now. We're good.
That would be awesome. Cass, they say Mia to do a reread with a fresh general anxiety disorder diagnosis.
Congratulations, babe. Yeah.
And wishing you all the best, Cass. I think because unfortunately, and I want to focus on the positive here. However, there are some elements that can be perceived as negative when we're talking about. Obviously, I don't think any one of us wishes to have mental health challenges or disorders, etc. However, I think certainly there's the vast preponderance of people who do. Actually, when you think about it, they need help, they need treatment, they need support, but they tend to function really, really, really well overall when you really think about it.
Yeah.
That's part of the challenge, because you don't, unlike a broken arm or a lesion, when you show up and you meet your coworker, you won't know. You may not know for months, years that they're struggling with. You may never know. You may work with them for 50 years and never know that they're dealing with a mental health issue, because it doesn't show on the outside necessarily. Now, when you're talking about, and this is the Kickstarter for a wonderful audiobook for your book.
Yes. I
find, and I'm not an audiobook person, but it's different, especially, and I'm not sure if there's a lot of first person perspectives in your book, if it's written from the main character in first person or third person or whatever the person is, that audiobooks really, when it comes to immersion, it's literally on your ears and in your head. And for some people, so to hear that rather than read that will probably really be difficult for some people to actually hear those words of the character talking about their struggles in your ears. Especially
because of the fact that I don't, when I sit down to read anything, like I was saying to a friend of mine recently, I'm like, you know me, babe, I'll read like a tax form and make it a whole production. Like I really try to put a heart into performance when it comes to narrating the work, right? So for those who don't know, there is an audiobook version of this title that is in production right now, and we are putting a Kickstarter on to fund production. Yay! And it is already technically fully funded. We funded in 6 days, which was so cool. Thank you so much.
That is awesome.
more is more when it comes to funding in the arts, right? So every dollar over our baseline essentially helps to fund us for time, like the uncountable hours that are going to go into it, right? Because not only is it the narration, which is what one expects from an audiobook, we're also doing sound design to a level that, in my opinion, just befits the standard of something coming out of the Shale Project. So there is going to be atmospheric ambience. Like when you're in a place where there's rain happening, the rain sounds will filter in and out a little bit, right? When you're in a cavern, you'll get the slight, not enough to be distracting, but enough to be like, ooh, something's changed. The slight echo of the whatever. And then most excitingly for myself, there is also music. This is an orchestrated audiobook. So it's not going to be all the way through. Yes, yeah, it's not going to be all the way through, but it is going to be about more than two, between 2 and 3 hours total of music that will filter in and out through the narration and sort of arrive during pivotal moments to support the narration. Which is something you just simply cannot do with a text. Like you just can't stick that in a physical book, right, or an ebook. But you can do it in a medium like this. So that's one thing that my co-creator Brendan and I. So Avi is the partner of mine for Shale, but Brendan May is a dear friend of both of ours, and happens to have all of the skills that I don't have that make an audiobook possible. He's an audio engineer. He's a sound designer. He plays literally every instrument on earth except for the French horn. Like it's very cool. I know, right? The one that got away. So having a complementary skill suite like that makes a project like this, which is like super ambitious, especially for an indie outfit like we are, possible. And so we are not just hitting record in the booth, which is lovely on its own, right? And I'm giving it my all as the author, as the narrator author, but we are also then composing original themes for characters, for places, for concepts, and then transforming those over time like you would with a film score. Essentially, there's going to be a film score for this thing, which is so cool. Like, come on. Who doesn't want that, right?
What?
Yeah.
This is unreal. This is absolutely unreal. Like, I've never heard of any audiobook like this. Like,
it is so fun to work on. I cannot overstate how much fun it is, right? So on the Kickstarter page, if you navigate to the campaign, there is a 15-minute demo of the audiobook, and it starts off with a couple of paragraphs to get you a sense of the narration and the performance. And then quite quickly, we sort of fade in to one of the 4 short stories that is embedded in the text. So this is a book that has a lot of stories in story, because there's a lot of secondary characters who will sort of meet the protagonist and deliver bits of their culture, bits of their own personal backstory, as a way of getting closer to him, and B, a way of like maybe helping him out a bit. Be like, okay, you seem like you're having a lot going on. Here's a story that I once heard, and maybe this will help you out, right? And specifically, there's a part in the book where our 2 main characters are traveling with a band of storytellers, like professional storytellers. You know, it's their job to show up from town to town with their instruments and their memorized folklore and like do the thing. They're performers, they're actors, right? And one of them is delivering a well-known folk tale. And that's the one that we selected for the demo for this Kickstarter, because the fact that it stands alone. You don't need to have read the whatever 70 pages or whatever it is of book before reading with your ears this short story. It is self-contained, so you can enjoy it just as its own piece. And that 15-minute short story is fully orchestrated. It's basically like hearing a ballet, right? There's music all the way through that has been composed to really enrich and elevate the emotional moments that happen through this story, right? So we've been very careful to try not to be distracting with it, but instead to have it be like a supportive container for the words. So yeah, you should check it out. It's super cool. It's a really nice little snack break if you wanted just to like have a cup of coffee or tea and like look out the window wistfully and listen to a story time. It's definitely one of those.
This sounds absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
I'm speechless. I can't even. I mean, all I can say is that in the links in this video, the link to back the Kickstarter is there. Go check out that Kickstarter page.
Look.
This sounds next level. Like this sounds this audiobook sounds completely next level. So, folks, I don't think you want to miss out. What audiobooks had in the last, say, 5 to 10 years, less. Now they become more and more prevalent. There are many people who cannot consume a book unless it's audio for various reasons. There are, and of course, people who prefer to consume an audiobook for various reasons. What was the impetus for you now? It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you'll correct me, that this is an ongoing series. You have book 2 out
It's
in
a
physical
completed
ebook.
duology now, right? So it's 2 books, and now the thing is done. But yeah, impetus for like why audiobook now, essentially. The short answer is because we finally can, right? So as I'm describing it to you, I'm sure one part of your brain, PL, is going, that's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the other part of your brain that is like also an author and runs a press is like, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
You nailed
what?
it. You nailed it. You nailed
Yeah,
it.
like it's so cool. What?
You nailed it.
Like what slash concerned, and
Yeah.
part of it is just that even put the music aside for a second, because that's like a whole other project, really. Audiobooks are or have been, maybe I should say have been, because I'm not a huge expert on the matter, but have been for a while, a pricey thing to create as an independent artist, right?
Yeah.
You need access to a studio or access to good, crisp microphones and the ability to like put blankets up in a closet or whatever. Sometimes people will really DIY it, and bless them for doing that, right? There's probably 101 ways to make it happen on a budget, but it is tough to do regardless. It is a taxing thing, just vocally speaking, to talk for that long over a sustained period of time. When Brendan and I sit down and do recording stuff, I usually get through 1 chapter, maybe 2 if they're short, and they're usually not short for this book, right? So I sit down and I'm talking for 3 hours straight, and then there's retakes if like a car drives by outside. God damn, we have to take the paragraph again, right? All these things. So it's just taxing in that way. If you are not an author who is comfortable with performance, then you need to hire an audiobook narrator, and they should be paid because they are wonderful people who have immense creative talent of their own to interpret a work, even if it's not their own, right? So it's expensive. Quality don't come cheap. And so for a very long time, although it was always the dream to have it in audio format from the jump, it simply was not feasible pretty much until we became closer with our friend Brendan and realized all of the skills that he had and all of the equipment that he had, and the fact that like kid literally has a recording studio in his basement, and we were like, oh, well, that makes this a lot more possible all of a sudden, right? So I am over at his house like 4 nights a week, until stupid late at night, because of the fact that we have opposite work schedules. Like I have kind of the 9 to 5 thing, and he has a night shift at the music studio that his family owns. Like, do you see how it all starts to come together?
Yeah.
And so we can't actually work on this thing, especially the recording part, until like we are both off work and everyone else has gone to bed. So when you listen to the recording of the audiobook, a fun thing that I like to tell people is like, this is a project. Pretty much every word that you're hearing out of my mouth in that recording was spoken between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 in the morning. And I am not a night owl by trade. Like that is very much I pushing myself for the love of getting the thing done, right? We get her done. But these are all factors, right? This is why now it is possible and before it wasn't. But you're right when you were talking earlier about how in an ideal world, not even a perfect one, just a better one, audiobooks would be a kind of part of the package when a book is released, right? Because it's an accessibility measure, because of the fact that having multiple formats for a story in general allows you to experience the story in different ways. Again, like you can't do the music thing in the text, but you can do it in the audio version, right? So there, just like there are certain things you can do in text that you cannot accomplish really the same thing. That's why there are different mediums, because they do different things really well and effortlessly. So to have both like the simultaneous release is always the dream, right? To be able to actually just go bam, bam, and then the ebook makes three, right? The holy trinity, so to speak, of book. But I also want to point out that, we're trying to not, despite the fact that it was chronologically, it was an afterthought in the sense that the book as a physical object has been out for many years now. It's been out for 7 years. And now we're doing an audiobook now that we have the means. But spiritually and artistically, it is anything but an afterthought. It's not like, oh, great, now let's just slap it together and move along with our lives. Like, hopefully what I'm conveying to you, PL, is that it's like its own art project at this point, right? Yeah. Full of ambition and like, dark roads untraveled, that we're excited to light our way down. And that is what I hope for the future of audiobooks in general, is that we see more ambitious projects like this where they go, okay, let's do good, crisp, clean narration that is a performance. Yes. And then let's see what else we can explore in the volatile and intimate realm of sound, right? Which is so, like you were saying earlier, literally right into your ears, right into your head. You don't get much more intimate than that when it comes to storytelling. So how can we play here, right? That's what I'm excited about.
And while you, as I said, you hit the nail on the head, I was so over the moon excited for you, but yet for you, like on behalf of you, daunted at what you were talking about. But yet, this is just it's I'm not exaggerating. It's the most exciting project I've heard about, and most unique and innovative audio project about in a long time. So I mean, wow, kudos to you for the attempt, just the attempt, like wow, so folks, like, back that Kickstarter. So just so that for the edification of those who watch this later, who want to back it. So you said you're fully funded. Congratulations, that is so amazing. Can you tell the audience, are you into stretch goals now? Like, where are you with?
Sure. So we consider doing stretch goals because we see a lot of Kickstarters that do that. I did a Kickstarter last year as well for a poetry project of mine. I had a chapbook. I have it on like any good author, I have my props. Here she is. Here's my poetry project. It's called Hortus Animarum, a new herbal for the queer heart. And thank you. I designed it myself. And it's got these beautiful purple end papers, and it's a bunch of little poems that are, queer plant poetry. It's short, it's sweet, it's contemplative. And it was originally published by a poetry press. It won a contest and it was published. And then as so many small presses do that publish externally, they folded. Right, it happens. And they sent me back my rights because they wanted me to be able to release the work again if I so chose, and because I have layout. Yes, do that, everybody, if that's a thing that you do. So because I have layout design skills, I was able to recreate and augment and update the actual object itself, but I needed funds to print it. So I did a Kickstarter last year for that, and it was very successful. And when I was doing that, I also was thinking about stretch goals and what to add. And I did a bunch of research. And in case anyone out there is considering doing their own crowdfunding project, whether it's on Kickstarter or BackerKit or Indiegogo or like whatever, something that I found out that interested me because I just, I had taken it for granted that stretch goals were like a thing. Kickstarter actually is like pretty leery about stretch goals as a concept. Like if you go on their FAQ and you read like, what about stretch goals? They're like, yeah, you can. And a lot of people do because it's exciting, right? It builds momentum, and also it can add to it can bloat the scope of the project to a point where you can get into a lot of hot water pretty quickly, right? So I took that to heart because with an ambitious project like this, eventually one must also be realistic.
Yes.
And so, we were considering like, okay, if we hit a certain amount, will we like guarantee book 2 as well? But like, I have no crystal ball, PL. I don't want to look that far into the future, right? We should know at this point that it is very difficult to predict anything that's going to happen in this world, even 6 months down the line. So instead, for this project specifically, again, every dollar that comes over the line of kind of what we establish as our threshold helps us to make it better and faster, essentially, because we are not full-time artists. Imagine if we were, but we got to pay the bills, essentially. And so every pledge towards this essentially makes it so that we can dedicate more hours towards doing this rather than the thing that pays the bills, right?
Yeah.
And so you can expect a product that has, I mean, it's hard to imagine this because we do very much give it our all, but like, more time, more effort, more, whatever. And also I think faster is really the thing, because it takes, like I said earlier, it takes a long time to say anything at Old Entish. We never say anything unless it's worth taking a long time to say. This project is expected to arrive to the public, to be published by about October of next year. So it's a bit of a wait, right? We're in a culture that's used to being like, okay, give it to me now. Like, where is it in 3 months? Good work takes time. And so that's our current expected timeline with the resources that we have, is October of next year, which lines up quite nicely with the 4-year anniversary of book 2, of the completion of the duology, right? That's kind of where we're aiming for it, is the 4-year birthday of the series as a whole, right? But if we make more money than what we were asking for, then we can certainly push that timeline up. You know what I mean? So that's what's going on with Kickstarter. But more excitingly than just that, there is a whole bunch of cool stuff. If you are a fan of the work, or if you're just starting out, like, there's stuff for everyone. So alongside the audiobook itself, which is at about $30 Canadian, which is that's like $2 for our American friends. It's it is the lowest you'll ever see it. When it's published in a more traditional sense, it will be a little bit more expensive. So if you are the kind of person who's excited by audiobooks, back now and you'll get it for the sort of backer special price. But beyond that, if you're not an audiobook person, but you're interested in the project, we are also, there's a tier on the Kickstarter, which I think is called Just the Tunes, Please. And you can go and get the album, just the album, right? So if you're interested in the music part of this, the composition to listen to on your transit, or while you're doing dishes, or while you're writing your book, like whatever, that is something you can go and back for. There is a behind the scenes tier, which I think is very cool if you're someone who likes kind of the disc 2 of the DVD of it all. There is going to be, Brendan and I are going to record essentially a 1 hour, probably an hour and 30, let's be so real, 90-minute podcast episode talking more about how we made the project. And also I am releasing never before seen deleted scenes essentially from the manuscript. So for the kind of people who have read the book before, or are like just into that kind of thing of like, what was on your cutting room floor? I kind of want to know. There's tens of thousands of words of material that got cut from this thing, right? Which I consider readable. So, if you're the kind of person who's like, I kind of do want to know what would have happened if we'd made this choice instead of that choice, like, this is going to be a piece of material that's released to backers exclusively who go for that tier. There are special recorded thank yous. There's, you can have your name listed in a thank you at the end of the audiobook itself. Like, there's something for everyone, really. So I would encourage people to go check it out. If you care about independent, ambitious art, if you care about no AI art, it's a real hot topic right now. I don't know, humans of the future, hopefully you've learned by now, but it's important that artists get to make their art. And this is the furthest thing from a AI slop as you could possibly get. Every note of that music was composed by 2 very ambitious and careful minds. Every graphic that we put together for social media was put together by a human being. Like, there are no shortcuts here. Like, we take our time. I've called it a slow cooker art a couple of times. Like, it takes a long time to make, but at the end, it sure is savory, So yeah, there's something for everyone, and I would encourage you to go check it out.
Absolutely. And Abby's comment, well said. Yeah, as you noted, Sienna, that the Entish pace also allows you not to completely burn out doing this. Because this is quite the endeavor. And I really, really want to emphasize, though, hats off to you. Like, I remember years ago when I had to record a quick clip from reading my book for a booktube or something. I think I was going on something like this. And I'd never actually, like, I had to, it was simple. I was supposed to record a couple lines. It's my book. I know these lines intimately. And I do you know how many times, Sienna, I screwed up just reading like 5 lines, coughing and it's like, and then I was like, when I actually produced, when we actually produced the audiobook for John Kingdom, and went through the process of the auditions and all that, getting voice acting, I just earned completely new respect for like as you said, they're actors, definitely. Like they're really talented creatives, and it is hard. It seems like, oh yeah, all they have to do is just read. It's like just reading lines. No, and it's not that.
It's the difference between you're in 10th grade English class and you're being asked to read Shakespeare one by one, and
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
a real somebody who
Yeah.
performs the work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I remember interviewing. It was on Page Two with my awesome partner there, made to the pages. We're interviewing Travis Baldry, and he is a world class author and audiobook narrator, obviously, with all the cozy, his cozy fantasies blown up beyond all recognition. But and just
Future is cozy, yes.
he makes it sound and look easy, but he does it. Yeah, it's not. And so just hats off to you for doing that. Like that's really, you should really be patting yourself on the back for that accomplishment. So, but of course, I'm wishing you nothing but the best with this incredible project. Quickly, and I'm not going to keep, because I know you're so generous for your time. I know you're struggling a bit of a sore throat, etc. So you're such a trooper for coming out and doing this quickly. I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but especially with what you're doing to get this one out, will there be plans for the second book, the duology?
Of course there are. Of course, that you can't simply do one and then not do.
I thought so, but I had to ask.
No. She's gonna happen. She just might take some time, right? So again, that's the thing of like the more support in general. It's not just dollars. It's people talking about it. It's people asking for it. It's people sharing this story with each other. The more support there is for it, the more we are able to, I mean, in a capitalistic world, justify the hours and hours and hours that go into doing something like this, right? So yeah, even if it's not your cup of tea, if you know somebody who you think might be interested, please do let them know, because it is very difficult to reach other human beings in this very noisy world. And personal recommendations still carry their weight in gold, right? So yeah, that's absolutely, there are going to be plans for the whole thing. We finish what we start in this house.
Oh, of course, that I of course, without question, I will be. And the reason I ask is because I can absolutely guarantee that someone's going to watch this and go, that is especially an audiobook connoisseur, or that is the only way that they can consume their books. They're going to ask me, "Hey, do you know if Sienna's planning to do an audiobook?" I don't want to
start it and not finish it.
Yeah. So and I'll be able to tell them it with good conscience. Yes, you can watch.
There will be book 2.
The horse's mouth. She said they're going to do book 2. So that's why I asked. So it is recorded for all posterity, or as long as YouTube keeps.
Now I've made the promise. Yeah. Now we got to really follow through.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could talk to you for hours. This is just amazing. But I'm going to respect your time, respect your throat. Even though it's in the links and everything, can you please just let everyone know where they go to back to Kickstarter, where they can buy the book outside of audiobook, on ebook and physical form, where you can get other works from you, and also where can they find you, in what social media spaces, if any, that you occupy?
100%. We've arrived at the shameless plug part of the conversation of the evening. Okay, so the Kickstarter is on Kickstarter.com. Obviously, if you go to Kickstarter and you search in the publishing category, or just up at the search bar, you type The Heretic's Guide to Homecoming Orchestrated Audiobook. She should show up. She's got very distinctive colors. So there's a little intro video with my smiling face and Brendan's smiling face. And I encourage you to watch it because there's bloopers at the end and we're having a lot of fun. That's where you can find that. As far as the book itself, in its current textual form, both in ebook and physical copies, I encourage you to go to your local independent bookstores. I encourage you to go to your local libraries and ask for them there, because it's important to shop small these days, and
Yes.
libraries are incredible pieces of social infrastructure that deserve our attention.
Yes.
The libraries are the libraries of the future. Let's be so real, right? So go and ask for them there. It helps me out. In Canada, we have something called the public lending right, which essentially is artists will get paid money based on how many libraries carry their work. So trust me, I do get dollars from it, and you all get to have a free resource, which is great. If you want it on your shelf in your home, if you're the kind of person who likes to hoard their books like dragons, please go to your indie bookstore, your local bookstore, and ask for it. And also it's available on things like bookshop.org, all of the great online indie sellers in both formats. So that's where I would recommend you go and find this stuff. If you're looking for yours truly, you can find me at my website, which is siennatristen.com. Tristan with an E, not an A. Sienna with two N's, like the color or the van, depending on your persuasion. And you can also find me online on Instagram. And I just got on Blue Sky recently at Sienna Tristen on both of these platforms. Yeah.
Hooray. Yeah. I believe that, see, I am late to the party.
Yeah.
Your book was already very popular.
That's what you mean. Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's
She's
what I
green.
mean.
She'll wait. It's okay.
Yeah, your book is very popular. So that went on the TBR really fast. So now hopefully I can get to it next year, and I'm so looking forward to reading it. I'm so looking forward to reading other work by you. And I really have to say, you are a bright light. And it's one thing, you're obviously so intelligent, you're so articulate, you're wonderful, but you are also a bright light. And I love the fact that this is a book that I've reached a point in life where books are, and I think I was always that kind of person where books are definitely not solely to entertain for me. So books that will teach me something that I can learn from, that I can feel something about. This sounds like that's definitely going to be that book. So I absolutely cannot wait to read it, and especially knowing that your other half, knowing the impact that their book made on me, that their book made on me. I absolutely cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. So
you find something valuable for you in those pages, PL. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming. Listen, hopefully you will come back. Do me the honor of coming back in the future.
100%,
and maybe, who knows, we'll do if he's willing, we'll have Abby join
oh my
us.
God, it'll be an absolute chaos tornado of fun. It'll be good fun. It'll be good chaos, right? Generative chaos. Sure. Yeah. We like to chat.
Double trouble. So, but yeah, we can do that in the future. Best of luck with the Kickstarter. You've already funded. Congratulations. I know that the audiobook is going to be spectacular, absolutely spectacular, based on what you're saying. And kudos to you for taking on a project that says mayhem.
Yeah.
So but a good kind of mayhem. So
yes.
Folks, again, back that Kickstarter. Links are in the video. And follow Sienna and read her books. And when the audiobook is ready next year, get the audiobook if that's how you consume your books. I'm so grateful and honored to have had the opportunity to speak with Sienna. And again, hopefully I will be able to have Sienna back in the future. It's PL Stewart. Quickly, my quick shameless self promo. Everything for me on social media is basically at PL Stewart Writes, whether that's Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, or the thing that we currently call X, formerly Twitter. Also, the website is plstewart.com. The books, 5 books out. The fifth book came out in spring. That was A Pack of Wolves. The next book, A Black Dragon on Red, is coming out in the spring of 2026. God willing.
Nice.
And the final bit of shameless self-promo on the book side is The Shapers of World Anthology, Volume 5. My fantasy horror story, Forest Dark, is kind of smack dab in the middle of this. I know spooky
yeah.
season is past. However, if you don't want to like read one of my 400, 500 page books, and you kind of want to to see if you even want to read them, check out a short story that won't take up too much of your time. I think it's a nice little precursor to my work, and also getting a sample of my writing and see if I might be an author yet. But don't just read this for me. There's some brilliant authors in this anthology. Some amazing stories like MJ Kuhn. There's some awesome people. So check out the anthology. If you want an arc, I'll send you one. Seeing if you're interested. So, and there's some brilliant stories in there that I think lots to enjoy, and irrespective of your taste. So, and finally, Six Elementals, of course, my channel, The Drowned Kingdom Saga, and the page chewing interview feature with my awesome partner, another great booktuber, Taylor from the Pages. We're on a bit of a hiatus from page chewing right now. However, I'm ramping up the Six Elementals, and I get to speak to fabulous creatives such as Sienna. So it's been a blast. All right, I think that's it. Thank you again so much. Best of luck with the audiobook, folks. Heretic's Guide to Homecoming. Back that Kickstarter. Go buy the book. Read it. I can't wait to do that. So again, I think you've discovered maybe your next great author and next great book here, hopefully tonight. So Sienna and I will be signing off. All right. So take care.
Have a great time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.